Hey,
What's up?
how are you?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. This thing's been recording for a little bit and I don't know if you can tell, but I put some lights in just to make it a little less dark.
Yeah, it looks great. I think it's still a little bit dark on my end though, but
It looks amazing. You look beautiful.
thank you.
Let me X out of that. How have you been? I like your shirt.
Thank you.
We have some good stuff to talk about today.
I think we do. Some exciting UFC fights and then Tiger Woods.
Yeah, Tiger, he's hanging in there. Gary Woodland. Okay, so welcome back to another episode of All Gear No Game. Back here again with Jonah Willard, and I think at the end I'll do the thing where you say subscribe and stuff, because I feel like that's better.
Follow the Instagram.
Yeah, follow the Instagram. You know the name. Okay. Yeah. What do you want to talk about first? You want to go with golf? I feel like golf's a tradition.
Should we give our performers of the week first?
Oh yeah, we can.
Which is actually going to lead me into golf.
Okay.
Because my performer of the week is Tony Finau.
Yeah.
Who is leading the tournament right now, which is cool. Like, first round leader.
Oh wait, Gary Gary dropped.
Gary, yeah.
Oh really?
Yep.
Oh, he's my favorite.
Yeah, he's 6 under, and I think Gary's 4 under. So both obviously in the hunt. Obviously, first round leader is cool, but it's not a massive deal. The real reason I'm picking Tony Finau, in addition to being the first round leader at the Memorial, is that at his home course in Utah, he shot a 59 this week.
Wow.
Which is a very big deal in golf.
Yeah.
13 under par. And he did it with a bogey, which means he had to make 14 birdies.
Dang.
Which is just unreal. So shout out to Tony Finau. Big week for him.
Yeah. And then Ricky's not doing too hot.
Not too hot. Yeah, this can be Ricky Tucker.
No, he was doing a little bit better though. He started it was bad.
And it stayed pretty bad.
Yeah.
Gonna be a trunk slam for Ricky this week.
Yeah. And then Tiger, was he even? 1
under par. He was able to birdie number 18 and get out of there in the red numbers.
So it's a wide open race.
Absolutely, yeah.
It does not matter. Anybody can come back, especially when you're only 6 under.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Tony Finau is good. I don't remember. I'm pretty sure I've seen him do good. What has he won in the past?
He's only won one tournament, which is the Puerto Rico Open. Okay. But he's come in second a ton of times.
Yeah, so I feel like he's come in second a lot or something like that.
Yeah, so he kind of has been like, it's a cliche, but due for a win. Like, he needs to get that monkey off his back and get the second win, I think. He's got so much talent, though. I feel like once he kind of finds that second win, they might open the floodgates,
Yeah. What is your hat?
Eugene Country Club.
Oh, nice. That's a really cool logo. I didn't recognize it at all.
Yeah.
That's sick. I love how your outfits always are coordinated, like your shirt matches your hats and stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm going all Eugene today. Got the
I know, I can tell.
Country Club hat.
I love it. You're a little bit of a traitor today. You got to be careful walking around in Corvallis wearing that stuff.
That's facts. Yeah.
Unless you just stay home all day, which most of us do anyway.
Yeah, hopefully.
But yeah, so you want to talk about the bubble a little bit? There's some interesting stuff that's been going on there.
Let's do it.
With Zion leaving, do you have any comments on that?
Not really. I mean, I just am wishing him all the best. I don't think we know why he had to leave. Yeah. So I hope there wasn't a death in his family.
No, yeah, that'd be terrible. But I mean, in terms of the Pelicans' chances in the future, how do you think that greatly impacts them, or do you think they can overcome it, considering that he's been gone the majority of the season?
I mean, hopefully he'll be back in time to play basketball.
Yeah.
Which we really have no idea. But yeah, if he's gone, it will be a big impact for the Pelicans. And I don't have any knowledge to base this off of, but I would have been surprised if Zion had played too many minutes in the playoffs just because of how cautious they were with him in the regular season. I didn't see any reason why they wouldn't be even more cautious coming off of like a 3-month hiatus when injury risks would be heightened. I thought Zion's workload would be pretty light anyway. So in terms of the actual on-court product for the Pelicans, I don't really think this makes too big of an impact.
Yeah, but I feel like he's been putting some work in, though.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, he's definitely leaned down quite a bit.
Yeah, he looks good, I think. I mean, I haven't really seen too many pictures, but from the ones that they were posting on like social media and stuff, he looks really good. But yeah, I remember when I watched a few games because they like televised the ones when he was coming back or whatever to see his debut because he's obviously a huge attraction. He was definitely like limited minutes wise. He was set on it. He had a specific time structure, no matter like how well he was doing.
Definitely, and I think that's smart with the Pelicans. Like in a once in a generation guy like Zion, you only get really one shot at it. Although they got two because they got Anthony Davis, and then 10 years later they got Zion. But you really don't want to risk it, especially because like they were a fun team this year, but they were never going to win the championship or anything. So there's no reason to put Zion in danger just so you can get the 8th seed.
Yeah, I really like Drew Holiday.
Yeah,
he's really good. I feel like he's underrated.
Yeah, Drew's very, very underrated.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And then I didn't really follow them too much. I didn't really honestly follow the NBA too much because the Warriors weren't as solid. But that's kind of me being a fair-weathered fan, I guess. But that's besides the point. I didn't really get to see how well Lonzo was doing. He's doing better though, right?
Yeah, he's doing a little better. And the biggest storyline for the Pelicans this season, besides Zion, has to be the improvement of Brandon Ingram, who had one of the biggest single season shooting improvements I think I've ever seen in the NBA.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah, which is just props to the Pelicans coaching staff, how they could totally redefine him as a player. And he's super fun to watch. Obviously made the All-Star game. So
yeah, when he's coming out of Duke, right? They were giving him comparisons to KD.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of a stretch, but I can see how they would think that for sure.
Yeah, tall, skinny wing who can handle the ball a little bit. You can definitely see the similarities, but
he's not a dominant scorer though.
Yeah, obviously Brandon Ingram has a long ways to go if he wants to be anywhere near KD's level.
The great thing about basketball is you have so much time for development. I feel like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like Andrew Wiggins has been in the league for a long time, and he's still super young.
Yeah.
Also, D'Angelo Russell, guys like that, it seems like they've been in the league for a long time, but they're still so young. It's pretty cool. You get a lot of longevity if you draft the right guys, I feel like.
For sure. Yeah, especially depending on their style of play. D'Lo will probably be around for a long time just because of the way he plays, whereas Zion maybe fully developed within the next 2 years, you know?
Yeah, there's definitely levels and gaps because those aren't even Zion's light years better, in my opinion, than a guy like D'Angelo Russell and stuff. Obviously. D'Angelo Russell was weird because he didn't do much on the Lakers, I feel like, right?
No.
And then he popped up on the Nets.
Yeah.
He had one good season, huh? Or a couple. I only remember his most recent season where he was really good and he was an all-star, and then they traded him and then he became a Warrior.
Yeah.
Besides that year, I really didn't hear too much about him.
And I think D'Angelo Russell is quickly becoming one of the worst contracts in the NBA. Not one of the worst. He's quickly becoming a bad contract, though.
Paying. What do you mean, though?
Here, let me do a quick fact check. I think he's getting paid $22 million a year. He's getting paid 25% of the salary cap, which is... Sorry.
No, it's fine. That's insane.
Yeah, he's getting paid $27 million next year. It's a 4-year, $117 million contract, which, I mean, you probably watched even more D'Lo than I did this year just because he was on the Warriors.
Yeah.
But I think like, it's obviously all fun and games when you're a great young player and led a fun young team like the Brooklyn Nets to the playoffs. But when you get that max contract and you're playing on a team like the Warriors, where you're not this year, but usually like expecting to contend for the playoffs, like all of a sudden you have to really like step your game up and sort of justify the price tag on your head. And I don't really think D'Lo took any noticeable steps forward in any facets of his game. And if anything, thought he maybe took a step back this year.
Mm-hmm. I agree. He's definitely obviously a really good shooter, but I feel like he's really free and loose and not afraid to do things, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
Because you see him taking a lot of low percentage shots, but at the same time, in a star player like that, you want a guy that's not afraid to take crazy shots.
And he's a very bad defender. He has a tough time getting all the way to the rim. His lack of athleticism and explosiveness limits his ability as a playmaker on offense, which is obviously less of.
He's a really good shooter, though. When he gets heated up,
especially in the mid range off the dribble, like he's very effective as an on ball shot creator for himself.
I agree. Yeah, and he has some range.
Absolutely, yeah.
I saw him. He pulls up from way beyond the arc.
He's got some depth to that 3-point shot for sure.
I liked him, but he for some reason when he was on the Warriors, it was just like this isn't going to be.
It was never
this wasn't a long-term deal.
Mm-mm.
Especially when Steph would come back in Clay.
Right. And I thought that trade ended up working out very well for the Warriors with the Timberwolves. I thought the Warriors won that trade by a wide margin.
Yeah.
Which I think was an unpopular opinion, and definitely at the time. Just because people are so much on the bandwagon that Wiggins' contract and is an absolute albatross, and Wiggins is a bad player. And Wiggins is a worse player and a worse contract than D'Angelo Russell, but you also have to kind of look at the fit. And the Warriors definitely needed a wing player more than they needed D'Angelo Russell. And that's exactly what they've got in Wiggins. And in the short time we saw Wiggins in Golden State, he looked like he was playing pretty well in a Warriors uniform. And then
you said it best, though. He's almost that Harrison Barnes role, which is going to provide way more longevity than a D'Angelo Russell.
For sure, yeah. And then the Warriors got the best piece in that trade, too, which is the Timberwolves top 3 protected 2021 draft pick, which I think is going to carry a lot of value.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. So do you want since I don't feel as qualified to talk about NBA season awards as you are, so I'm just going to give you the awards and then you're going to give me your pick for them, okay?
Okay. Sounds good. And you can feel free to respond to my picks if you want to.
Okay. Just for clarification, there's only one of each award. There's no separation between the leagues, right?
Correct. Yeah, and okay. I can give like my runner-up for each of them too.
Awesome. Okay. We'll start off Rookie of the Year.
All right, Rookie of the Year, easily John Morant. I don't think anybody would debate that. He just had a very good season, especially when you don't usually see it. Point guards usually have a large learning curve when they get into the NBA, just because reading NBA defenses is so much harder than reading college defenses, and everything in the NBA happens at a much faster pace. That the decision making a point guard has to speed up so fast. It's usually a very big adjustment. It didn't seem that way for John Morant. He just immediately seemed very comfortable running the Grizzlies offense, and obviously he ran it so effectively. They're in a playoff spot right now.
Yeah, he really seemed unfazed, I feel like.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And obviously he has the insane athleticism that leads to some crazy highlights and almost highlights. But I think, this is a runaway victory for John Morant. I think I still think Zion Williamson is the best rookie in this class, but he just obviously didn't do enough to put himself in this conversation.
I agree. Didn't Ja almost posterize Baines?
Yep, almost posterized Baines, almost posterized Anthony Davis, almost murdered Kevin Love.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a list of victims.
Yeah, his almost highlights are. I'm pretty sure they had a compilation of his almost highlights.
Yeah,
and if he would have landed half of those, he'd be a legend.
Ridiculous, yeah. He's a legend for even trying a few of those.
Yeah, I know.
You don't see that confidence from rookies very often.
Not at all. Okay, so if I am short on the awards, then just add them, but I'll try to get as many as I can. Is the sixth man a one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for sixth man, this is probably the hardest one for me. I ended up going with Derrick Rose just because I felt like he had the best resume of all the sixth mans. He averaged the most points. And this is where it kind of gets tricky and you get into the philosophical debate of what a sixth man was. He was the Pistons' best player. He played a lot of minutes for them, but technically he came off the bench. And so, yeah, I went Derrick Rose. My runner-up was Dennis Schroeder, and it's because Dennis Schroeder was a key part of what was one of the best closing lineups in the NBA. And I thought Dennis Schroeder made a lot of key improvements to his game this year.
Is he on OKC now?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I thought he made a lot of key improvements to his game. Most of them came offensively, and provided he was helped by playing off the ball alongside one of the best floor generals of all time in Chris Paul. But last year on the Thunder, you saw him take a lot of bad shots, make a lot of decisions with the ball in his hands because he was basically their pure backup point guard when Russ sat. So he spent a lot of time on ball last year. Off ball, I thought he was far more effective, and you even saw him giving more effort defensively as he had easier assignments this year.
Yeah, I like Dennis Schroeder. I didn't know because on 2K or whatever, he was on the Hawks, right? No.
Yeah, he was on the Hawks before the Thunder.
He was on the Hawks before the Thunder, and I was just he was like the main cover guy on their, when you scroll through the teams, they have the guys. Who's this guy? But he's actually pretty good. I like him. I haven't seen him play a whole bunch. I don't really know much about him, but I feel like, I don't know. I don't know enough to say anything about him, but I feel like he's a pretty good player.
Yeah, and he had the best season of his career this year.
Nice. Is most improved player a one?
Yep.
Okay. Or comeback, is that the same thing?
There's no comeback, but
okay.
Most improved player is pretty much the same thing. So for most improved player, this was one where I kind of had to do a little bit of soul searching, and I eventually decided to go with a guy who I normally would be super opposed to picking for an award like this, but I went with Luka Doncic.
Okay, yeah.
And normally I hate it when people name sophomore players for most improved because you're like supposed to improve from your rookie year to the second year. Like that's just what's expected of you. But Luka improved by so much more than what was expected of him. I think when you tell the story of the 2019-2020 NBA season, the most important improvement and the improvement that was most impactful in terms of like how the season played out was the improvement of Luka Doncic. And that's why I personally think it would just kind of be wrong to not say Luka.
He's a stud.
Player. Yeah, absolutely. Because he was a borderline all-star his rookie year, almost made the all-star team. And that's crazy. Like that's insane for a rookie. Barely ever happened.
This year is arguably one of the best players in the league.
Absolutely. Was an all-star starter in the MVP conversation. Gonna be all
he was like leading the MVP race for a little bit, right? And then he got hurt.
Yeah. The kid is the quarterback of the most efficient offense in league history. Like, I'm sorry, Brandon Ingram. I'm sorry, Bam Adebayo. Any other year, you guys would be very qualified for this award. I just think you'd have to be crazy not to pick Luka.
The shots that Luka hits are mesmerizing to me sometimes.
Yeah. The way he plays basketball is mesmerizing. He's one of my favorite players to watch.
He's deceptive.
Yeah.
If you see him pull up at a basket, like if you saw him, you would be like, whatever. And then once he gets a roll in, it's almost like Nikola Jokic, where it's like you're just kind of like I don't know, just amazed or just kind of baffled that they even do what they do. You know what I mean? Because they don't have the Ja Morant athleticism. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's what's crazy to me. Like, he's not fast, he's not athletic, and yet somehow he leaves his defender in the dust with ease whenever he wants to. Like, he just has every trick up his sleeve in terms of getting past a defender, using his eyes to manipulate like his teammates' defenders, which leads to assists and all those things you want your point guard to do. Luka has got all those skills, and it's only his second year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100% with the Luka pick. And then is MVP the last one?
We've still got to do MVP, Coach of the Year. And
Coach of the Year.
Player.
And for defensive player. Yeah, you're right. Let's go defensive.
All right, so for defensive player, I went Giannis pretty easily. That probably the most important player on the best defensive team in the league by far. He hasn't really had to be that sort of lockdown one-on-one defender very much this season. And come playoff time, he definitely will have to do that. And I think he'll have no problem with that. But the thing that's been impressive with Giannis, besides the unreal steal and block numbers and the unreal efficiency of the Milwaukee defense, the thing that's impressed me about Giannis is just his ability to sort of play free safety in the Milwaukee defense. Like, he jumps passing lanes all the time. He sort of just stands on the nail or on the elbow of the paint and just makes reads, crashes, help side. And that's obviously Brook Lopez is a very good rim defender, but Giannis is part of why Milwaukee just didn't allow baskets at the rim. It's because in order to get to Brook Lopez, you have to get past Giannis, and he's with one of the longest wingspans in the NBA and that insane quickness and athleticism. He can just bottle up opposing offenses.
Yeah, I agree. He's probably the most intimidating player in the NBA and arguably the best player in the NBA.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get to that in a few minutes.
I mean, I feel like you could make the argument that he is.
Yeah, for sure.
But you always have those other people that'll say LeBron and Kawhi, which obviously is fair.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And I mean, here, let me just get to this point right now. So I'd say for best player, you kind of have to separate it into three categories and then decide which of those categories is the most important. I would say best regular season player, no argument, is Giannis. Giannis won the MVP last year. He's going to win the MVP this year. He just puts up unreal numbers on the offensive and defensive end. He's the best regular season player by a lot.
So he's your MVP?
Yeah, he's my MVP.
Yeah.
And it's not particularly close. And then you have to consider who's the best postseason player. And for me, that's Kawhi Leonard. Because in the postseason, it gets so slow. It's a one-on-one game. You just need a guy whose shots are undeniable. And what I mean by that is, like, Giannis, we saw him last year. Nick Nurse came up with a great game plan. The Raptors had amazing personnel to stop Giannis and Kawhi and Serge Ibaka and Marc Gasol, who could all prevent him from getting to the basket, which is obviously what Giannis needs to do. And Giannis had the worst games of his season when it mattered in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Kawhi, you're not going to stop him from getting his baskets, because when he lowers his shoulder into his guy and just works his way to the elbow before he shoots the fadeaway, there's nobody in the NBA who's going to be able to guard that.
No.
Or at least not going to be able to guard that, 8 possessions in a row midway through the fourth quarter. That's an undeniable shot. And Kawhi Leonard hits that shot at an efficient clip, and that's why I'd say he's the best postseason player. And then the best overall player when you combine postseason and regular season, I'd give it to LeBron. Just because Kawhi, as good as he is, he doesn't always bring it night in and night out in the regular season, and that's why he's never won an MVP award. For me, the postseason matters the most, which is why I always say Kawhi Leonard's the best basketball player in the league, but that was a bit of a tangent.
No, yeah. Yeah, you can make the argument for any of those 3 guys, I feel like.
Yeah.
For sure. And then your coach of the year?
Coach of the year is Nick Nurse.
Yeah.
The Raptors won the championship last year, lost their 2 key wing players in Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green, and somehow got better, even though they were fighting multiple injuries on top of injuries the entire season. Nick Nurse just brought different looks, showed insane creativity, and led the Raptors to an improved record over what they had last season. And are they a better team than last year? No. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard, the loss of, in my opinion, the best player in the NBA, will make them far less effective in the postseason. But having a better record the season after you lose the best player along with Danny Green is insanely impressive, especially obviously, like I said, when you're fighting injuries. And that's why I easily gave the coach of the year to Nick Nurse over Mike Budenholzer and Frank Vogel, who I both thought were deserving as well.
Who are they coaches for?
Oh, sorry, yeah. Frank Vogel for the Lakers and Mike Budenholzer for the Bucks.
Got it. Oh, that makes sense. Lol. I honestly have not been following the NBA at all. I don't know too much.
Yeah, I wouldn't blame you based on the season the Warriors had.
Yeah, I know. But it's fine. The Warriors, we had a really good debate last time.
Yeah.
Another team that I was thinking about, the Nets will be pretty good once they have everybody back.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
But I mean, if KD's on a team, it's hard to count it. It's hard to count them out. Oh, because KD is easily one of the top 5 players in the league too. You don't think so?
I would say.
I mean,
are we talking about assuming he goes back to 100% full KD?
Obviously, that's always that's always the assumption.
Okay, so if we're assuming KD is as good as he was in his prime, then yeah, he's a top 5 player.
Mm-hmm, for sure. I mean, he literally willed the Warriors to a couple championships. So, by himself, almost in a way. It felt like without KD, we would have been screwed, and it showed when KD was gone.
Yeah,
especially when Clay was injured too, or tore his ACL. But yeah, moving on. Do you have anything else you want to say regarding the NBA?
Nope, that's it for now.
All right, sick. So Jonah sent me his UFC fight, his picks for yesterday's fight night. He pretty much took it away besides McCann, which that was even a close fight. All those fights were really good, don't you think? They were all unanimous decisions on the main card. Yeah,
they were all interesting in their own way. I definitely thought the first fight between Alazan and Lazzez was by far the best one. But
that was crazy. I honestly thought Hassan was going to knock him out in the first 30 seconds, but Lazzez took all his shots
and he was still to come back afterwards.
I know.
Alazan left it all out on the line. Alazan definitely had a game plan, and I don't really think he could have executed that game plan any better. He was getting shot after shot after shot.
Yeah, I know.
At a certain point, if you don't knock him out, you just have to say, hats off to the other guy. I gave it my all, and he's still standing. And so Lazzez definitely earned that victory.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go through. I missed the first 3. I missed Jack Shore. His submission does not surprise me at all, watching his old highlights. I didn't watch the Liana Jojua versus Diana Belvita. And then I didn't watch Jared Gordon versus Chris Fishgold, but apparently it was a crazy one-sided affair. Jared Gordon took the dub. And then the fight I did watch, the first one was Modestas Bukauskas versus Andreas Michailidis, and that one was really good. But I've for some reason these last few fights, everything's been crazy. There's been things that I've never seen before, like take place in the UFC, and it was like in between rounds. I mean, some of his elbows. Michailidis had Modestas Bukauskas basically pinned up against the cage, and towards the end of the round, Bukauskas started doing some landing some elbows, and it just kind of disoriented. And I'm obviously concussed Michailidis, and in between rounds, they had to call it off because they opened up the cage door for the cutman to come inside, and Michailidis was so out of it that when he went to stand up, he like fell through he like fell back, and then the ref called it after that. But I've never seen something like that take place where you had some borderline 12-6 elbows TKO someone and then the ref calls it in between rounds. I've never seen that in my life. But Modestas is a really big, pretty sure they were light heavyweights, and Modestas is really good.
And looking back on it, do you think the ref should have called it like before the end of the round? Or was it not really obvious that he was hurting until after the round was over?
Watching it live or watching it the first time, watching the TKO or him call it, I was like, that's a good stoppage. But then after watching it again, I don't know if I feel like he maybe could have continued, but I think it was a good stoppage considering the fact that if you're not standing up or physically trying to get back to your corner, I feel.
Yeah.
And you're like, you're grabbing the back of your head.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't think he would have been in a good position if they were to start round 2. I feel like he would have just got finished. And then Lerone Murphy really impressed me a lot because Ricardo Ramos is such a fluid, good striker. And he was doing some crazy spinning techniques, which were like flawless. But Lerone just started taking him down, which was surprising, I think. And he landed some ground and pound. And then that's how he won, and it was really impressive. I like Lerone Murphy. There's a lot of good fighters that are fighting out of England. And then you watched the Chimaev fight.
Was that the last?
He had the huge beard, and he just he beat the crap out of John Phillips, and he just submitted him.
Oh yeah,
yeah, that was complete utter domination, and they call Chimaev Khabib 2.0, and he definitely proved it for sure. He did exactly what Khabib does to people. And then moving into the fight we were just talking about, Munir Lazzez was really impressive, and his chin was insane.
Yeah, that was an awesome fight. I think Lazzez is going to be a problem in the future. He's pretty good. I
agree. They're welterweights, I'm pretty sure, 170. Yeah, they are. Munir Lazzez, I thought going into the fight, I was like, he's going to get worked. Because Hassan is like, they were calling him Al Hassan, and I was like, there's no way his last name it's got to be Al Hassan. For sure.
The crazy thing is, I thought after this fight, Al Hassan is 10-2, but all 10 of his wins have been knockouts in the first round, which he almost got. He probably should have got.
If it was any other guy, probably.
Yeah, I feel like 9 times out of 10, if you land the kind of shots he was landing, you get the knockout. But Lazzez just did incredibly well to stay up.
Both of those guys are really exciting. I really like Al Hassan. He's got the most exciting. I mean, he considering how much output he put out in the first 40 seconds of that fight. I feel like he was able to stay somewhat. Like he saved a lot of energy. I feel like considering the fact that he put out so much, he was not as tired as most people would have been.
True, but I also feel like if you're a fighter like Al Hassan, if you're gonna win, you've got to win like by knocking the other guy out. Because like a guy like Al Hassan's not really gonna win by a decision, I feel like. And you could kind of sense by the end of the fight he wasn't really throwing those haymakers like he was in the beginning,
No, he had 1 or 2 shots, but it wasn't coming in flurries like it was in the beginning, for sure.
Yeah,
I really like both of those. Both of those guys are really
And that was probably the funnest fight to watch out of the main card, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then the next one was Molly McCann.
Yep.
Versus Tyler Santos. Tyler's good.
Yeah, Tyler.
She's so long.
She looked really good. Because with Molly McCann, obviously, doesn't she usually overwhelm, like, just with her power and, like, the force she can get behind?
She has good boxing.
Yeah. But Santos wasn't really even letting her get close to her in this fight.
Because the range played such a big factor in that fight.
Yeah.
She's a big, they're 120. She's a big flyweight.
And she did really good on the ground, too, I thought.
Mm-hmm. She dominated her.
Yeah. And the thing that was just interesting for this one, when I was sort of making my prediction and doing a little bit of research before the fight, was that when the line opened, McCann was a minus 300 favorite. And by the time the fight started, she was down to minus 160. And anytime the line changes by that much, it's kind of a signal that something like is going on. And so I feel like that should have been a clue that Santos like definitely was going to win the fight, you know?
I agree. I feel as if I don't understand why Santos was an underdog.
Yeah.
Like, probably that doesn't make any sense to me.
Didn't McCann just have a much better record going into the fight against like higher level?
Probably.
Yeah, I think that's the only reason. But it was clear that Santos kind of dominated her in every way during the fight.
Really impressive. 5 out of 7 takedowns. That's solid. Pretty much outstruck her. And then moving on to Jimmy Rivera versus Cody Stamann. Jimmy Rivera is a stud.
Yeah.
Cody Stamann is really good. I think they're pretty evenly matched, but I think that I would give the edge to Jimmy Rivera. Obviously, he took the dub, but Cody was just really hesitant to get any exchanges with him. He was okay countering, but Jimmy's just such a really strong, powerful guy.
And the thing I noticed about Jimmy were the leg kicks. Like, he kicked Stamann with such force. I felt like that really kind of slowed Cody down. And
Cody could not get a takedown to save his life. He got one.
No, and that's kind of Cody's strength, isn't it? Once he gets on the ground. And Rivera didn't really allow that to happen at all.
Cody has some pretty good boxing and striking. He displayed it in his last fight where he basically dominated Brian Kelleher. But Jimmy Rivera is definitely a leap up in talent, I think.
Yeah.
I really like both of those guys, but Jimmy is a beast. Jimmy Rivera gave Peter Yan, the current champion, like a run for his money. And you can see why. He's a stud. But yeah, his takedown defense was insane.
Yeah, it was.
Cody looked like he had some for sure shots. Like, yeah, he had it in deep, like single legs and doubles, or mostly just singles. But Jimmy stuffed him.
Yeah.
He managed to work his way to the fence and just stuffed him.
One of the most impressive things, I think, for when I watch the UFC fighting, one of the things that is the craziest to me is when they go for a kick and their opponent catches it and then goes for the takedown and how they can balance on one foot.
I don't understand.
Until they get to the fence and then not go down.
Yeah.
Like, that sort of balancing and core strength is unreal.
It is.
And Rivera had a few of those in this fight.
Rivera's just a scary dude. Like,
yeah,
he's a beast. And then your boy Tim Elliott versus Ryan Benoit.
Yeah, Tim Elliott, I'd never seen him before. He's super fun to watch. He's kind of weird, but
yeah, he's really awkward, but he's really technical and good.
Yeah,
I like watching him.
And he's always like shifting around, like from side to side. He's like in constant movement.
He's tough as nails.
Yeah, and it's probably deceptive. Like they were saying, the announcers were saying, like, he's the sort of guy you have to really feel out because his reactions and his answers are going to be different than what a normal fighter would do, I feel like.
I agree. I think that Benoit did a really good job, though. It was pretty evenly matched fight. I would have given, if I turned the announcers off and just watched it as myself, I would have given the edge to Benoit. for sure. He landed some hard shots. But Tim Elliott, he did. Shots. Huh?
He was definitely getting like the more powerful.
He cracked shots. Him. His striking is insane.
I thought Elliott was definitely hurting more than Benoit after that fight, for sure.
I agree. But Elliott, I think, outpointed him, and he had more strikes for sure.
Yeah, higher volume. And I think that can also be attributed just to, like, his movement, too. Like, when you're moving around and just in that constant state of motion and you're just kind of tapping him, and, like, constantly touching him, it adds up for sure.
Yeah. I like this card a lot. It was really exciting. That's what you have to do. Sometimes you just got to watch some, and you're going to find some stars because some of these guys are going to be beasts in the future. Because Jimmy Rivera is a stud, Cody Stamen's a stud, Ryan Benoit is really impressive. Tim Elliott, he's low-key gatekeeper, but he's super exciting, and he's so tough to put away.
Yeah.
And then in the main event was, I thought, really good. Dan Ige, I feel like, held his own, but Calvin Kattar, you could see, he's just on a little bit of a different level.
Way more endurance, I thought. Obviously, that can probably be attributed to the big shot Ige took on his eye. He could probably barely see by the time the fight was over. But in the 4th and 5th rounds, Kattar kind of showed why he was the favorite.
For sure. But I really like Ige. He's gonna come back stronger, and he's gonna get more experience fighting in 5-round fights, especially if he can put up that kind of fight against Calvin Kattar, who's one of the most dangerous guys in the 145-pound division. If he can give a guy like that a run for his money, I think he's going to be solid.
And when we were talking about this fight on the podcast the other day, I think we both mentioned how Ige is just one of those tough guys with sort of a jaw steel who you're not going to knock out. And Ige is going to make you, like, go the distance. And that's exactly what happened. Like, Ige was giving effort and just going all out for the entire 25 minutes. And he just didn't have it in the
I thought rounds. Ige did a really good job of landing, getting out, and landing multiple shots. Yeah. He did a really good job.
Yeah.
He hurt Kattar. He hit him straight. Sure. He hit him with a straight that really busted up Kattar's nose, and I thought Ige did a really good job, but Kattar, he has the endurance advantage.
Yeah, for sure. Ige pretty much did everything that could have been expected from him, but Kattar's like the favorite for a reason, and he didn't really they both fought good fights, and when, like, both guys are going to the peak of their abilities, like, obviously the favorite's going to win.
Yeah, this main card was pretty. They matched up some really similar fighters, and the way some guys won, it was not razor thin, but you could just see some guys barely scraped out a win because they were so evenly matched. I feel like they did a really good job of putting these guys together, some of these fights together.
Yeah. I also thought, like, definitely similar skill levels, but also some fights that had contrasting styles, which is always sort of an interesting thing to watch.
Yeah, it's so interesting watching Ige fight because he doesn't have, like, the attributes besides his reach. He just looks like a normal guy in there. Yeah,
and he's not, like, crazy athletic or anything like that.
He's just a normal dude. It was so funny watching him in the corner. His coach was like, have some fun in there. And Ige had to bust it up out. He's like, I'm having fun. It was so funny. He said it, like, completely monotone. He's like, I'm having fun. It was hilarious. It's like, you can't really have a lot of fun in there when you're getting busted up.
No.
But it was exciting, and I am looking forward to next week's fights as well. They're just banging them out there over in Abu Dhabi.
Yeah. And what about the ones on Saturday? Is that going to be an interesting card too?
Yeah, Joseph Benavidez is fighting Davison Figueiredo, and then the co-main is really interesting. It's Kelvin Gastelum versus Jack Hermanson, and that'll be really good. Oh, and then Mark Jacasey's fighting another guy from England that I really like. He was on a skid. And his contract with the UFC was in jeopardy because he lost 3 fights in a row, but he got a good win, and I don't know if he's fought since then. I'm sure he has, but I'm excited to watch him fight because he's good. And then Askar Askarov is another really good 125-pounder who's fighting. And the main card is pretty good on this one as well. I'm really looking forward to the co-main, though. Jack Hermanson versus Kelvin Gastelum. Kelvin Gastelum gave the middleweight champ Israel Adesanya his hardest fight to date, in my opinion. So it's gonna be fireworks, and I'm really interested to see how Joseph Benavidez does, considering the fact that he's been open about his depression and headaches, obviously caused by the amount of damage he's taken in the UFC. It's surprising to me that he still wants to fight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think since this is a championship bout, he wants to get that title, but I don't know how much longer he's going to want to defend it if he does win.
Right, yeah.
Because if you achieve your lifelong goal and you already know in the back of your head that you have sustained some pretty serious injuries and been knocked out pretty severely multiple times, I don't know how much longer you want to continue.
Maybe he just wants to go out on top by sort of winning this championship.
Yeah, but it's kind of annoying, though, because a lot of the UFC, it would just kind of suck. You don't want to invest the money into a person that is not going to defend in the future. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you're just going to have to do this over again, it's going to suck. If he wins and retires, that's kind of annoying.
Yeah.
Because then you're just going to have to do another thing for another vacant title, which is stupid. And the flyweight division, in my opinion, is one of the more underrated divisions in the UFC. But for some reason, people just don't want to see him. I think they've done a really good job at building it up. There's some really good contenders there, but for some reason, people just don't want to watch them because you don't get the crazy knockouts because they're not as big and strong and powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But I like watching a fight because they're so fast and technical. But yeah, it's going to be fun. Davison Figueiredo's crazy. The only reason he missed weight the last time these guys fought, and then it was only Joseph Benavidez fighting for a title, which kind of sucked. And then Joseph lost, so then they had to redo it. Ooh, Joe Duffy's on the card too. Joe Duffy's Irish. He's beat Conor McGregor, but that was a long time ago.
Wow.
They're not even on the same level now, but
yes, this could be a fun one to watch.
It should be. I mean, I've grown to understand that the UFC rarely tries to make fights that aren't exciting, even though you might not recognize the names.
Yeah, they know what they're doing.
Yeah, they definitely know what they're doing. And usually, it's just really fun to find the stars, the hidden stars, like the hidden not necessarily Conor McGregor's, but some of those guys that are going to rise and become contenders.
Yeah, for sure.
Like Askar Askarov's a really interesting guy. He's undefeated. And then let's see, he has one draw. I forget who that was against. It was against Brandon Moreno. Yeah, Brandon Moreno is probably my favorite 125er. He's super sick. He has such good boxing. There's so many fun. I wish I could have been a matchmaker in the UFC. There's so many guys that would match up with each other. It'd be a crazy job.
That should be a segment on our next podcast.
Yeah.
Kellen's top 10 hypothetical UFC matches.
Yes. I would love doing that. That'd be the literal sickest job ever, even though I know there's a lot that goes into it and stuff, but it'd be crazy. Another thing that would be fun is if colleges, I wish for one season that they could do an open scheduling system where they could just pick random schools. I wish there was more non-conference games.
Yeah.
I wish there was way more overlap in college football and basketball because it's so much fun in the preseason games, preseason tournaments when you get I don't know, just like a Kentucky playing Oregon or something crazy like that. Or Oklahoma versus Oregon State. That's fun.
Yeah.
Like the PK80 is pretty sick. I like that.
Yeah, the PK80 was cool, especially that one year, the first year when they got all the really good teams to go. That was super fun.
It was. But yeah, very interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Anything else you really want to talk about?
I don't think so. I think pretty soon we'll have to start getting into some NBA predictions for when the season comes
When's
back.
the season expected to start?
On the 30th of July, which I think is, in only 2 weeks from today. So we'll have to save that for another time, though, because I think I could spend days on that.
Yeah, it's really sad. There's so much stuff getting canceled. Like my dad was getting pumped about the Portland Pickle. There's like the Wild West, some league or whatever. It's like the Corvallis Knights kind of, and that just got canceled. And so there's just everything's getting canceled, dude. It's so sad, but it's like it's not surprising at all.
No, not at all.
But yeah, I think this was a good one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So when do you want to do the next one?
Would you like to do one tomorrow where we go over the UFC card for Saturday?
Sure. Yeah, we can go over it more in depth.
Yeah, I guess so. We kind of glanced over it today, but anytime works for me.
Okay, dope. And then, yeah, maybe we could do one on Sunday or something, or Monday.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, yeah, awesome. All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. And then I'll do a little shout out. Follow us on Instagram. Don't forget. And subscribe because we need more listeners because we want to eventually do things where like we answer the questions of our fans. Like that'd be sick.
And then give us the 5-star reviews too.
Oh yeah.
Even leave a comment review if you're so inclined.
Awesome. But yeah. All right. Bye. Thank you again for another amazing episode.
Of course, anytime.
All right. Bye.